What is something you did when you were younger that you are still facing the consequences of? Loud concerts. No earplugs. Blew my credit. Still fixing that one. Nice job. Me. Not taking care of my teeth and not learning how to budget. Now I am broke with frog teeth. I had a bad habit of biting my nails and not washing my hands when I was about 10 years old. I got pinworms twice, and to this day whenever my ass itches I have a moment of panic. I was taken from my mom at age 10 and put into foster care. After a while social services found my dad, who left right after I was born and who I had never met. Eventually I was asked who I wanted to live with, my dad or my mom. I said my dad. Because I had always wanted one, and being torn from my mom basically severed our bond through trauma. It turns out he and my stepmom were abusers, and I was abused for 6 years before I ran away. Still haunts me to think who I would have been had I chosen my mom. Now I'm estranged from them all. I was working 40 hours a week while still in high school. After 6 months of non-stop work, I fell asleep behind the wheel and I lost my leg. Flew off a waterslide while goofing off. Landed on concrete. Left hip still hurts to sleep on 20-ish years later. It took at least 10 years before I told my mom what happened. Dental hygiene. I sprained my ankle on a treadmill when I was 13 and I was too stubborn to let it heal properly. So now, nearly 15 years later, I can't walk until like 10 in the morning a couple times a month because my ankle is still a wee bit frocked. Gaining weight. I'm getting older and it's harder now to lose it, and my joints will be frocked if I don't. Not having a good posture. Avoiding socializing, not fixing social anxiety. Been huge source of strife in career and personal life. Never admitting an injury. Smoking. Edit. Some asked. I quit 9 years ago. It took me 3 tries, but I finally decided to quit in 2012. My ex-wife and I were smoking on the balcony of our apartment. My baby girl was lying down on the floor on the futon of our bedroom, and some of the smoke got sucked inside and she started coughing because of it. I said I'm done, put my cigarette out, and crumbled the half-full pack up. And that was it. It went from the hardest thing to the easiest thing in a span of 5 minutes. I listened to music way too frocking loudly. I'm 37 and I absolutely need hearing aids. I'm not deaf, but if there is even slight background noise, everything sounds incredibly muffled. Sometimes I have to ask people to repeat themselves 3 to 4 times. Edit. I never got tinnitus. There were no blaring signs of hearing loss that I noticed. It was extremely gradual. Turn your shit down, bitches. Wear earplugs. Listening to my music on full blast. I'm 23 and I've lost nearly 40% of my total hearing. Not making it a point to work on my social skills. I was a bit of a loner in school. Really shy. Now I struggle to make conversation with coworkers without feeling immense levels of anxiety. Worry that without this skill I'll never really get ahead. Not stand up for myself enough. Catching up and learning it as an adult is embarrassing at times. Chose a low-pay, high-stress career. Not getting enough work experience for my degree. Ran my credit into the ground because I was so sure I was going to kill myself by the time I was 22. So why not? I had a treehouse that was about 10 feet off the ground and I would regularly jump out of it. Being an idiot. I wouldn't brace myself when I landed because I thought I looked cooler doing it that way. Just straight up land on my feet without so much as bending my knees. Well, guess who's got sit knees before they've hit 30? Edit. Obligatory. Of course my highest comment is me being a dumbass 8-year-old, and thanks for the award, stranger. Let others' opinion matter over my own. It created havoc with my self-esteem and created anxiety. Whatever I achieved, it seemed it was because I was lucky. Now I don't know who I am and what I could have been. Overeat and eat poorly. Please, please, please teach and demonstrate nutrition and exercise to your kids. It is so fucking hard to defeat a lifetime of bad habits when you're in your adulthood and already feeling the effects of ill health from years of bad eating habits. And no, I don't just mean force them to eat their veggies, and thus just create a totally negative relationship with healthy food. You have to find ways to make their importance clear and introduce new ways of eating healthy. Don't just feed a kid whatever they want whenever they want. I see that so much and the end result is not good. Not telling the truth of why I was depressed and how depressed I was. Not fully learning English until now. It's pretty hard ATM. Overspending. Got a credit card as soon as I turned 18. It had a limit of $5,000 and I was not financially responsible. Cut a long story short. More credit cards. Horrible cycle of debt. Had to dig myself out of it. I got out of debt at 32. Lived paycheck to paycheck for a while. I'm 37 now and this year is first year of my life I have savings. If anyone out there has crippling debt, don't feel hopeless. There's always a way out, even if it takes years. You can do it. Sorry to say it, but Tattoo regret. I hate them every time I see them. Loved the wrong person. Eating habits. Exercise habits. Had a drug problem. Got clean at 21. Roughly 10 years ago. Looking to get a government engineering job, but the government has different ideas on it. It seems unlikely I will be able to get a security clearance. I don't want to complain though, because I know plenty of other people who still have their drug problems. I know I'm just lucky to have been able to get on with my life. Anyway kids, I suggest going to therapy instead of doing drugs. From age approximately 16 to age 23 or so I was on the Depo-Provera shot for birth control. None of my doctors ever brought up that I should only be on it for a few years at a time because of some side effects like bone loss. I have broken bones. In shockingly dumb ways. That are then leading to what I suspect will be lifelong issues. I had surgery on my wrist after fracturing it in late 2019 and experience pretty frequent pain when I move my wrist or hand just slightly wrong. Internet addiction. Drugs. I suppose this is something I technically didn't do, but I never picked a career path. So now I've got a CV the length of my arm from various jobs and education that span over 3 countries, 18 years and with little to no recent experience. Due to taking care of my son and helping my ex-husband through education for his career path, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I got into the car of a couple that saw me walking home from school and offered me a ride home. Instead of driving me home, they took me to their house where they beat me for putting up a fight when they were about to assault me, and raped me. I'm still struggling alone mentally and don't trust anybody. Edit. For those who want to know the whole story of what happened, I posted my story on the rape counseling subreddit. It is the first post I made on this account. I appreciate the kind words and support. Thank you. Slacking off in school. Gave up on everything when I was in college. Stopped going to school. Slacked at work. Did nothing in my free time. I was living a day at a time with no plans for the future because I had no hope that life would get better. Now I'm here looking back at how things could have been different if I had a different mindset back then. These days I'm doing my best to do the things I should have done then, so the next time I reflect on the past 10 years I can feel pride instead of shame. Student loans. When my parents separated while I was in high school, I moved out. I was 14, my sister was 15, and my brother was 12. Drugs, fighting, etc. I couldn't handle it anymore. But my siblings never moved out. A few years later, Mom's back. Everyone's at home. It's a happy family with no room for me. Edit. Thanks for being so kind. I'm 19 now. I moved in with my grandparents. And I still live with them. Concerning the no room for me, I literally mean no room for me lol. They live in a trailer and there's no space. But I visit every week. Spent way too much time alone as a kid playing video games instead of socializing with friends. My social skills were stunted for many years, which made things much harder than they needed to be. Bad grades because of laziness. Ruining my credit. I got a bunch of credit cards when I was 18. I just turned 46 and I'm still reaping the consequences of those bad decisions. Married the wrong one. I never studied. I didn't need to from elementary to high school. It was pretty easy for me, so I never studied. Now, I'm in college, and I am facing the consequences of that. I have no idea how to study effectively, and it's reflecting in my test scores. Edit. Thanks so much for all the advice, everyone. I'll take it all to heart. Unprotected 6. 3 of the little frockers. God, I love them, but I advise everyone, never have more children than you have eyes. Not addressing my eating disorder. Pica. Ruined my teeth and had to get veneers and crowns to cover my broken teeth. It makes me upset that I can't bite into anything with my front teeth. At least, now I don't have an iron or calcium deficiency. Self-isolation through middle and high school. Now I'm just very naturally closed off and hard to get along with in general, so I basically have no friends. Gonna go on campus for the first time in the fall, so hopefully I can build some social skills by then. Art college. TLDR. Don't. You only need 2 things for a successful career in games development: a killer portfolio and networking contacts. Both can be developed online. No development company gives a shit what your education background looks like if you can match their production style. Being super picky as a kid and still having to break the habit of avoiding certain foods because I don't like them, but honestly haven't even tried them. Edit. Nobody asked, but it wasn't until I was 16 that I tried a grilled cheese. Got into a bad situation with car finance and credit card debt. Was in an unhealthy relationship and it manifested through spending. Luckily one of my family members bailed me out and allowed me to pay them back, saving me thousands in interest and several years of my life back. I'm with someone really great now, who has helped me budget, and I'm doing much better. Will be debt-free by September. Total debt was $39,000. Shout out to our personal finance for all the great tips. Not taking choosing a college major seriously. I started college in 2012 and changed my major 5 times. I get so mad when I think about how much better my life would be right now if I'd picked the right major from the start and graduated on time. I feel like a better question would be, what am I not suffering the consequences of? At this point, it's not a list. It's a frockin' dictionary. My parents raised me to be a Jehovah's Witness. I got baptized into the religion when I was 13. When I was 26, I realized I didn't believe in the religion anymore and left. Now my entire family, including my parents, sister and former social circle from the religion, shun me. I also broke my left pinky playing basketball in 8th grade. I never did anything about getting it fixed, but I also kept playing basketball and kept damaging it over and over. Now I have dexterity issues with it. Wannabe guitar player. Really hard to make those stretches with a pinky that only works 1/2 the time. Going to a very expensive out-of-state college just to spite my parents and get away from them. My dad was offering me a $40 an hour part-time job and a place to live for free to pay for my college. Instead I said, "You don't want me to live my life the way I want to? Then frock off." I went to a college 2,000 miles away and took out a $140,000 student loan. Accidentally touching a girl's bum when I was 16. Her boyfriend decided to headbutt me for it, leading to breaking my nose. I am 36 now and am still suffering on a daily basis of the messed up pipework up there. My nose holes asterisk are closed up still. 1. That's probably not the right word. Effin' up my credit. These bad remarks last a long time. Dislocated both kneecaps 10 months apart. Knees will pop out and in every now and then, which hurts like a son of a bitch. Starved myself since I was about 12 because I wanted to be super thin, which absolutely destroyed my metabolism. Ironic. Didn't keep up exercise. I was so fit in my youth and let it slip. I rode on that young fitness throughout my 20s and even 30s, but in 40s it really comes out. Stay fit. My parents were never really that involved from ages 8 and up, so I resorted to hours of being on the computer as a kid. Now as an adult I find myself just sitting on my phone every day all day. Oh damn. For some stupid reason I used to see how long I could stare into the sun when I was a kid. I've been basically blind without contacts, glasses for over 15 years. So much money spent just to be able to see normally. All because I was such an idiot kid XD. Not saving money from my teen jobs. I always felt my money was fun money. So I never learned to budget or save, as I spent my money as quickly as I earned it. I am working on it now as an adult. But obviously with adult responsibilities, bills, and unexpected expenses, it became more challenging than teen me thought to dig myself out of the financial hole. Teach your kids about finances. At 21 I didn't have any idea how credit cards or credit worked. Thought that credit card balances just reset every month to zero. I couldn't fathom how else people could rack up $30,000+ in credit card debt. I was pretty screwed when I maxed out my first credit card and then couldn't use it again the next month without paying the balance. I was coerced into sexual activity in the summer between 2nd and 3rd grade. I'm still suffering from the trauma. I said no twice, but in the end I did it. I'm still dealing with the aftermath, many years later. Sabotaging my own life after a divorce cost me my career. Don't go down the spiral. I did graffiti on a wall when I was 19 and now I have a criminal conviction that I have to list when I go overseas. It's embarrassing. Picking the wrong major and career path. I don't need to learn programming. I was wrong. Smoking COPD. I got suspended for what had to be like the 4th time that school year and my dad took everything away from me. Even my name. For a month I couldn't have anything in my room but my book bag and my bed, and that I wouldn't be Brandy I would be Can't Get Right. I'm 37 years old and they are still calling me Can't Get Right. Enlisted at 18. Everything hurts and I'm horribly depressed. Plus the beast called alcoholism rearing its head. Got into drugs and alcohol too young. I believe it gave me all my mental issues and stunted my development. I think this is super common, even with just weed, but people are still in denial. At 18. Got a credit card with a $500 limit and let it go late too many times. I'm 37 and it's still negatively affecting me. Frocking up my credit. Still in debt for $11,000. Had to be a stupid 18 and not pay bills. Just have fun. Being in the sun all the time with no sunscreen. Lol, trying to kill myself. Swallowed a bunch of pills. And now I have respiratory problems. If I have a panic attack, it could potentially put me into a coma or do some serious damage anyway, so I'm being treated like Stanley from The Office after he had his heart attack. Going to get help for my mental health. I wanted to be a FBI agent. But now I can't own a gun because I decided to go to the for wanting to off myself. They sent me to a mental hospital for 10 days. Now I'm depressed and have no clue what to do with my life. I thought I was suicidal before. Now I just wish everything would kill me. I hate living. I have absolutely nothing going for me and it's been almost 2 years since I got out of the psych ward. Addiction to energy drinks. Used to drink 3 a day. I got a wake-up call when I found out a friend's pretty much died drinking those like they were water. I'm down to 1 every other day. Debt and drinking. I was prescribed Adderall for most of my teens. Later I was diagnosed as bipolar, which is under control now, but maybe if I wasn't up at night all the time and actually getting sleep, maybe it wouldn't have been such an intense manic episode. I am not debating whether or not it caused me to be bipolar. I was definitely going to develop it, just that adding a stimulant to the mix definitely didn't help. Asking out my crush. We dated for like 2 weeks, then my parents found out. They called me names such as dumb, idiot, crazy, told me I was too young to know what love is. They forced me to break up with her. When school started again, I didn't know what to say to her, so I hoped she would say something first to me. That didn't happen and we haven't spoken since the text I sent her saying we were breaking up. I was afraid to like a girl all of high school and now I'm an adult who can barely talk to girls and everyone thinks I'm gay. Bought GME at $450 lol. Who else is in here taking notes? Jumped in a pile of leaves headfirst and hurt my neck, still suffering the consequences. I also did long jump in high school and my knees hate me for it. Bad diet and no exercise. I was a picky eater as many children can be, but especially young. My grandmother would feed me like a foie gras goose. I would get home from school and eat a Tostino's personal-size pizza or an entire box of mac and cheese or an entire sleeve of graham crackers and milk or an entire bowl of cheese, croutons, ranch or half a bag of chips with dip or sometimes a combination of them. I would drink 1 to 2 sodas there. On top of that I still had lunch and dinner. I have been fat all my life, though as an adult I have been better and in more control than up to high school. I don't know if I will ever push myself to be skinny, but I wish my grandmother and parents had some sense as to not let me eat 2 to 3 times the needed calories. I had a skateboarding accident in 1974 on a hilly street in Encino, California. It was drizzling and I was 15 years old and showing off in front of my cousins. We were at my aunt's house for dinner. I was making a swooping turn on a steep part of the street and I landed square on my face and shattered my front teeth. Since then I've had decades of dental work, root canals and dental implants. All the work stemming from the damage caused that evening. Today at age 61 I've had 2 years without any procedures related to the accident. A record. I dated someone who was extremely emotionally and psychologically abusive, and 15 years later I still struggle to trust that an intimate relationship can be healthy and safe. I knew it was a bad idea going into it. My gut was clearly warning me, but this person was so magnetic, so attractive, and I was so inexperienced that I went for it anyway. As I am a male and the abusive person was female, I don't get a lot of understanding about this from others. How could a woman abuse a man and have it really be that bad? If I could go back and change it, I don't know if I would. Because I feel I needed this lesson. Anyway, it's something I think about a lot and hope I can someday heal from. I'm definitely working on it in therapy. Used to stay up all night and watch TV with my dad circa 4 years old. Now I'm 28 and having extreme difficulties in life because I'm not able to stay on any kind of sleep schedule. Literally. Probably getting fired in T-10 hours. But I don't even know if I'll be conscious for it. Got pregnant at 15. Had to drop out of school. Got my GED. And focused on my kid. Almost 8 years later, I moved out of my parents' house and last month I married the love of my life. It's nice to finally be a parent without someone trying to parent me at the same time. Working on my 2nd college degree now, and I have a job that I absolutely love. And life is getting better. I'll be 34 when she turns 18. My life will never be what I envisioned. But it's totally worth it. But holy shit has it been rough. Only starting to get better the last few years. Use condoms. Kids. I picked someone up that was 100+ pounds heavier than me and ripped discs in my back. They had to be fused and the surgery was considered. Failed. As it did not really help the pain. Been in pain management ever since. I'd like to say the moral of the story is, don't pick up big ass people. But she was old and weak from cancer and I couldn't leave her on the ground in the snow where she fell. I was 27 when it happened. 46 now. Not fully valuing my family. And making friends. More important, I have none of those friends aside from one. Today. And my mother unexpectedly passed 2 years ago from an unknown brain aneurysm. I probably annoy my little cousins about how important family, making time for and with family is now. Smoking since I was 13 and quit when I was 29. So much money poofed into the air. Bad circulation. Wrinkles. Sometimes I start coughing like a maniac and start running out of air and it feels like I'm going to suffocate. Did the unspeakable at 18 years old and got a large tribal tattoo on my arm. Drug abuse. I wasn't even a hardcore addict, but I've noticed my memory sucks now. At least I still have my teeth. I didn't eat well in my childhood. Now, I'm just over underweight in contrast to BMI, and I am somewhat physically weak. Yesterday, I failed my military physical test, just couldn't pull off them pull-ups after the mile. At the age of 5, after being told I wasn't allowed to climb on the house roof, but smartass me decide nobody said I wasn't allowed on the garage roof, and then proceeded to take the direct route back to Earth. As a result of the head injury among other things, I developed epilepsy. Fast forward 30 years, I'm now recovering from my 4th broken back during seizures in 8 years, 6 fractured vertebrae and 1 burst vertebrae. But on a positive note, I just finished my first week back at work since the latest injury in October. I was obese as a kid. I lost the weight and got fit as I grew into adulthood. But no one really talks about how your body never fully bounces back. I'll always have just a bit too much extra flab on parts of my torso. Not going to get my bachelor's right after my associates. It gets harder to do school once you're out of that age. A pretty dark one, but self-harm. I asked my mother if I could get tested for ADHD as I had looked up the symptoms and noticed that I checked a lot of the boxes. She said, "Ha ha ha honey, you don't have that." And I was like, she is probably right. And I never brought it up again. If I had pushed a little harder and explained the symptoms I had, maybe I wouldn't be suffering the consequences of going through high school with 2 undiagnosed learning disabilities, which have led to anxiety, depression, and a general, non-wavering feeling of existential worthlessness. Stabbed this kid in the arm with a pencil in the 6th grade. He stabbed me in the face with his. I still have a scar on my left cheekbone from it. I'm 23. Not realizing how much money I would have saved moving off campus in college. I didn't know anything about renting apartments at age 19. The student loans will take a couple extra years to pay off.